Ain't no lie when we hit the block. Helmet's casket is top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, 8th place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision. We got.
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another Bold Call Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Kevin Allen, a.k.a. the Fantasy Football Geek, and I got my boy, the Encyclopedia Footballica himself, a man who studies film of players the way that you study
the Torah
Pornhub videos. Season Long says himself, what's up, my man?
That's your second mention in 2 weeks of Pornhub. Does somebody have a new bookmarked favorite site?
Been in the house, cooped up for too long. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I've seen Pornhub with while they're wearing the masks. That was always funny during the pandemic.
Well, you got to keep it safe, bro.
no protection down there, but
no,
protection
but you got to keep it safe, man. Come on. You know who's managing that video? It's like the Karen of of directors. He's like, put on a mask. What are you doing with the mask off?
No, and yeah, right, but but not a mask on the penis.
No,
right?
no.
Okay.
The people don't want that.
Right.
She's running up to people in the she's like, why are you wearing a mask under your nose? Put it over your nose.
Right. I mean that right there is like a Saturday Night Live skit waiting to happen. A Pornhub video while Karen is yelling at them to wear masks, but there's no condoms being
like
used.
A director, and she's pissed. Right. And then the actors are like playing it like those anti-maskers in Florida who walk into places like, I'm wearing shit. I don't know, I'm an American.
Right, I'm an American. That's it.
I know my rights.
They always say that.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Anyway, so as always, we are brought to you by DFS Army, and we're sponsored this week by No House Advantage. I want to talk about No House Advantage for a second, Says. Before we get into this,
you think that they're happy with that little prologue about the masks and penises? And okay, sorry about that.
Hopefully they didn't hear what the lead in. But before we get into that, actually, I want to talk about what we're going to talk about today. We'll talk about No House Advantage in a second. Yeah. Today we're going to cover best ball rankings and our overall Fantasy Football 2021 rankings. But the way we're going to cover it is I'm going to be debating with Sez on some of the rankings that we have.
Well, we have a lot of arguments on the telephone about the rankings. I said, let's just do it on the podcast.
That's the whole idea. So we have these great conversations where we break down these different players and we talk about why is he here? And if you're on the clock, are you really making that decision? So a lot of times you write the rankings down, you put it together, you kind of come up with your projections, and sometimes our biases get in there a little bit. So we're going to be debating areas of extreme disagreement in the rankings today. But again, before we get into really, really important stuff, and we'll give our points and really make arguments, and hopefully I'll win them all because I usually do.
No problem with them.
Before that, I want to talk about No House Advantage, what that is. Prop games against other people. What does that mean? When you go to the sports book, you bet on a prop. You're betting against the house. You're betting against the book. If any one of those things in the prop that you're betting fails, you're out, right? Usually the sports book wins, especially when people do parlays. In the sense, with No House Advantage, you're essentially creating a giant parlay, but you're playing against other people. So you get to choose whichever props you want to use for your parlay. But then it comes out in the process of like a DFS tournament where it doesn't matter if you don't get them all right. You just have to have the best score out of anybody on the props that you choose. It's really awesome. And they're running a great game, guys, for the NBA playoffs called the Slam Dunk. $3K to first. It's $25 to enter. $3K to first. You pick 10 props. You rank them, your favorite to your least favorite, and every prop is available. What you want to do is use DFS Army projections to drive your prop decisions. So,
and then use the code ARMY. Use the code ARMY.
That's right. You want to check out No House Advantage. If you use code ARMY, they will match that deposit. So, and you'll
$20, $20 match, $20 match.
It's a $20 match, but it's enough essentially to get you an entry or just about an entry into the Slam Dunk tonight. So get in there, No House Advantage, promo code ARMY. All right. Let's get into it, Says. Part of this started because I was looking through the rankings going, some of these guys, and I'll just, I'll pop it up on screen here. I want to take a look at our combined and current.
Are you looking at a specific position? Because I have
I'm on running back, but we can move it around. Running back, there are some egregious ones here. We have egregious everywhere, but there are some egregious rankings here that I want to talk about. Yep. And as you see this on screen, and says if you pop my share up on screen here.
Yep. Let me just.
When you see this on screen, I do want to point out. You don't have to throw me away. There we go.
There, buddy.
I do want to point out that part of what we do is we're going to fill in through time a lot of these notes. That's how the DFS Army Draft Kit comes to life.
Well, the notes are dynamic.
Yeah,
They're always changing.
These
isn't like a magazine where we put a note up and then that's the note for the next 3 months. Like when something happens, Geek or I will go in there and change the note. So those notes are pretty much in real time.
Yeah, they're going to be dynamic. And part of what you see here on the kit, we have our rankings, and then we have the underdog positional ADP for each player. This gives you a little bit of an idea right off the bat of if we're a little bit higher or lower on a player than current ADP specifies. So the first spot that I want to talk about that I find egregious is James Robinson as the 18th overall running back. Obviously, this was put together. I don't think we're going to have too much of an argument here. This was put together before the NFL draft.
No. This has been adjusted. This has been adjusted since the NFL draft.
So you're actually placing James Robinson as RB18.
No. So I had him as just before the draft at RB13. And you even had him as a first round pick at one point.
I loved him before. Okay. I loved him before, in fairness.
All right. So obviously he takes a major hit with Travis Etienne getting drafted there. And I pumped him down to 18 because I didn't want to just drop him off the face of the earth like everybody else did. I still think that and now there's been news out of Jaguars camp that Travis Etienne is working with the receivers. We heard that Coach Urban Meyer actually wanted Kadarius Toney, wanted a wide receiver. So what you do, he gets a running back and he puts him with the wide receivers. Now, I'm not saying Travis Etienne's not going to be a big piece of the running game. He is. But I think that James Robinson is dead for fantasy is one of the most crazy narratives out there right now. I think that there's probably a Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt situation that's probably going to start the year. I think that's what we're looking at, where Travis Etienne actually is the Kareem Hunt, maybe a little bit bigger role than that. But I don't think Urban Meyer's lying when we talk about the first month of the season. And what do we want to do in fantasy football? We want to get off to that 4-0, that 3-1 start. Now, obviously, you don't have to take James Robinson at RB18. You just don't have to do it. He's probably going as RB25. What's the underdog ADP say right there?
It's saying 18 here, but this also probably needs to be updated. If this is current, then I'm
telling you, it's so I'll look it up while we're talking, but I like him probably a couple spots lower. You're correct to point that out, but not much lower. Like I still like James Robinson better than Melvin Gordon, about the same as Javonte Williams. If Melvin Gordon does get that, I mean, who knows? That's going to be a split. What I'm saying is that either one of the Denver running backs is not in a better spot than James Robinson.
I'm sorry. You got to Josh Jacobs has to be above this guy.
He does, even but he's now in a worse position with Kenyon Drake there.
I would have him well above him. Miles Gaskin should be above James Robinson. IMHO. In my humble opinion.
There's nothing humble about your opinion.
No, that's why. Listen, anybody who throws out like a text lingo in an actual conversation probably should actually be taken out and shot. Taking it behind the woodshed. Teach him a lesson. Fucking don't IMHO me. But nonetheless, I did it. I stand by that, and I stand by the fact that Miles Gaskin is a starting running back for a Miami team. He should be above James Robinson. He'll get more work. He should have more opportunity. Do I love Miles Gaskin? No. But, I mean, he doesn't belong
well, you're
below
correct.
James Robinson.
Yeah, I'm going into the underdog rankings right now. And obviously the market agrees with you, and for good reason. Like his ADP is set. Let's see, where is it? He's going right now. All right, this is where, because I know you like to hear other players he's going around. So right now in drafts, you are correct that Josh Jacobs, Travis Etienne, Mike Davis, and Gaskin are all going before him. But the next right above him. So Robinson, running back, the three running backs going ahead of James Robinson right now are Trace Sermon, Javonte Williams, Chase Edmonds, and Kareem Hunt.
I
think you think that Robinson should be above all those guys, right?
I mean, Trey Sermon is ridiculous. Of course, he should be above Trey Sermon.
We're talking redraft right now, right? Trey Sermon obviously is absurd. I think Javonte Williams is absurd. There's no way Melvin Gordon is going to be
I don't know if I agree with that part. I think
you
Melvin
think Javonte
Gordon,
Williams from day one is going to be this elite pass
no.
blocker.
He definitely he won't. Actually, you're right. I mean, if we're talking redraft,
dude, Jonathan Taylor sucked the first 6 weeks of the season last year.
Yeah, no. In redraft, Jawanta Williams is a great dynasty pickup.
But that's not. You told me we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, if we're talking redraft, you're right. No, Javonte should be below. So, but that's the delineation. Robinson and Devonte Williams are similar.
Right, so you're not that far off. So basically, you just you have him about RB22. I have him at RB18. It's not that crazy. I'm saying is yesterday when you called me on the phone, you told me you said your rankings. You told me hold on a second. Let me speak. You said your rankings are totally outdated. Get them up to date. I was like, dude. They're not that off. They're really not that off. And they're not, a couple tweaks here and there. People are putting a knife in James Robinson. It ain't over, Johnny. It ain't over.
To be moved down. No, I mean, the most egregious is you can't have James Robinson ahead of David Montgomery.
No, I agree with you there.
The David Montgomery ranking, if this is his actual positional ADP, again, I think these numbers are old. If this is his actual positional ADP,
I'll tell you where
he's going RB23. David Montgomery, who broke out last season with a shitty quarterback. David Montgomery, who showed that he has a 3-down skill set. So everybody's making an assumption right now. And this is I love this because I like taking advantage of stupid. And when you watch the Bold Call podcast, you're going to join me in taking advantage of stupid. That's what we do. That's how we win fantasy football leagues. So now I'm going to explain something.
David Montgomery's going RB20 in underdog.
I love it. So now we're going to take advantage of terrible draftsmanship. Okay? David Montgomery is RB12 this year. You can get him for RB20.
Let's go over that real quick. All right. Let's do the either or game. Let's just really work it through because people listening to this podcast want to know. I'm going to name some obvious ones and then I'm going to keep count. Christian, you're going to stop me when there's somebody that you would take David Montgomery over. If I say a name and you want that person to be ranked above David Montgomery, say nothing. Okay. So for example, I'm going to say Christian McCaffrey. You're going to say nothing.
Of course. Okay? I mean, you don't even have to start.
Well, I'm just saying we're going to count 12. McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Barkley, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor. I'm up to 6.
Absolutely.
Zeke Elliott, Cam Akers, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb. I'm up to 10. Austin Eckler, 11. Najee Harris, 12. Antonio Gibson, 13.
Wait a minute. Gibson should be 12, first of all.
Okay, no, I'm just naming players.
Najee Harris, I'm taking Montgomery over Najee Harris.
Okay, fine. Well, then you have him at 13. How about Joe Mixon?
Montgomery. I take Montgomery.
Wait, hold on now. So we're getting into the good stuff here. Yeah. DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, I still have Montgomery over Swift.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Definitely below these guys.
Chris Carson.
Need you say more? I have Montgomery well.
And then you truly have him at 13. You truly have 13.
He's a touchdown scorer. Let me explain. I don't understand the hate for it's weird. He's a 3. I get he had he didn't look great the first couple seasons. But part of that was they had the Chicago offense that was just completely dysfunctional. When the offense actually got anything going last year, and I think a lot of people are excusing the fact that Tariq Cohen was out. I get that. But what you saw and what we learned was Montgomery, number one, has a full 3-down skill set. Number two, when the team can move the football and actually have scoring opportunities and actually threaten, this guy can be good. So now you add Justin Fields to the mix. You add a dynamic quarterback that will distract from the defense. Do you remember Robert Griffin III and Alfred fucking Morris?
Yeah, that's a good one right
Morris
there.
was a slow, undynamic,
He was
jag of all jags.
You know what it was? Alfred Morris was like a professional plotter. He was like he was a replacement level, solid starting running back that was like an RB, a top 5 RB for fantasy.
No explosiveness. Nothing about him was special. But that
somebody agrees.
Combination.
Hobie Hall agrees.
Does not fuck around. Let me tell you something. Hobie Hall is not somebody whose opinion I take lightly. He knows his shit.
Hobie Hall is a commenter, just for those listening on the
if you
on
didn't
the podcast.
See, he just threw a comment up that he belongs there. He was agreeing with me, and if you agree with me, I think you know your shit. That's how I operate.
While I talk for a second, while I just make an adjustment to my light here. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So as you're adjusting, so that's my number one. He's being taken too low. I'm not blaming anybody for. I'm just telling you right now. This is an advantage that you can take when you're drafting. The fact that Montgomery is going RB20 in best ball leagues right now on Underdog Fantasy, that tells you that the market is still inefficient. It's making mistakes. I can make an argument why he's above guys like why is he ababove Swift, you ask, right? You're like, well, what are you, crazy? Swift, he's an exciting young prospect.
Yeah.
Right?
He's a better running back. He's a better running back.
He's a very good running back. We love his talent. I don't fall in love with talent. This is running back and its opportunity. He's on a Lions team that's not going to score.
All right, so let me ask you this.
And the Lions, wait, let me make it worse on Swift, because that's the best argument point that you might have for somebody that I ranked Montgomery above that maybe he shouldn't be. Here's my argument, and this is redraft. In Dynasty, I would take Swift ahead of him. He's younger and has probably more talent.
Let's not make that caveat every time.
I'm not going to, but I'm just saying. But
we're always talking about basketball.
Number one, the Lions brought in Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams is the number 2 ranked pass blocking running back in the National Football League. Now, we make assumptions that, they're going to throw to Swift and blah, 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 and Williams is going to be this plotter at the goal line. It's going to be the opposite. Williams is going to come in on third down because he's the best blocker in the league, not just on the team, in the league. That's why Williams was always on the field in Green Bay on passing downs. You'd like, hey, it should be Jones. They brought in Williams. He was the number 2 ranked PFF pass blocking running back in the National Football. He'll be in the game.
All right, so you want to, I think is a really good projector of season long stats. And that doesn't mean he's perfect, but Mike Clay, believe it or not, on ESPN, he's a good projector. He's a good, when I do our projections, I just make sure I'm not too out of line, just because Mike Clay's been doing it a long time.
Fuck Mike Clay.
I'm not saying I don't always agree with his rankings.
Geek, bro? The best projector.
I'm talking about just season-long projections, okay? So from a season-long projection, and again, this is not the Bible. This is just kind of like someone who's been projecting a long time. He has Montgomery as his RB23. And again, you and I disagree with Clay a lot.
I've looked at that guy's projections, and I think they're terrible.
No, so he has him for 237 carries for 988 yards, 6 touchdowns, 38 catches for another 300 yards. So that pulls him in around RB23. Now, I agree with you. He probably should be higher than that, but I don't know. I mean, like RB20.
Put your money where your mouth is. If somebody wants to come at me and say David Montgomery 20th RB20. Offer me a bet on, not 23. I'll do better than you. How about RB18? I'll put a bet on that at even money odds. That's what I'm saying. I'll put my money where my mouth is. Number one, I always do, because I draft high dollar fantasy football leagues with this in mind. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is every time. But nonetheless, that's ridiculous. Those odds are ridiculous. And
you certainly did put your money in your mouth as you took him ahead of Joe Mixon in a draft that we're in right now. So I definitely respect the call.
I would always do that. I don't even think it's close. That's why
the market's very different than that. Just so
the market's wrong. Listen, 2 years ago, the market was telling us that Jackson was QB 16, and we said he's going to score the most points in the league. No. Last year, you had Josh Allen QB 7 or 8, and we said this is going to be the top guy. So everybody who watched this show had those quarterbacks. The market is wrong, and I love figuring out when they're wrong. That's how you make money at fantasy football. That's how you have success.
Joe Mixon's market ADP, his consensus is RB15, Montgomery is 23. So yeah, no, I mean, listen, if you are planning a flag for David Montgomery, which sounds like you will get him in every draft because you will be higher on him than everyone else. So
absolutely,
in your season-long leagues, there's basically you never have to take him in round 2. And if you're if you're getting one of those top 5 draft picks and you go running back, you're actually going to be in a good position to take a wide receiver in round 2, which normally we don't like to do because we're so scared of what's going to come back in round 3. But if you're a David Montgomery flag planner, you're going to get him in round 2. So you're going to be in a great position to take A.J. Brown or Tyreek Hill in round 2. I like that strategy.
Happy to get him there. Now, a couple of guys on our rankings, and I'm just, again, it's really, I don't want to harp too hard on the rankings as they are. But, there are some concern, like you got to move. Davis has to move up above.
Who are you talking about? Mike Davis?
Mike Davis should be right up there with a real starter, probably just above A.J. Dillon, who's too high, just generally too high. A.J. Dillon doesn't project.
I was waiting to see. Right, I was waiting to see what happened with Aaron Rodgers and all that stuff. But yeah, it's still kind of dicey. But yeah, absolutely. Mike Davis is looking more and more like a legitimate, redraft starter. I mean, think about this, Geek. Do you remember where Todd Gurley was going last year? He was routinely
3rd round.
Right. I mean, routinely on the 2-3 turn.
Yeah.
And if we think that Mike Davis is in better physical shape, which by all accounts, what we saw last year he is, and he's in an offense that's projected to be good, I'm comfortable with I mean, I'm taking him in the 4th round every draft. I mean, there's not a draft.
What I'm saying. Like you're talking 4th. He needs to be moved up significant. I still have Gaskin ahead of Davis, for example, but Gaskin needs to be moved up as well. But that's like the end of those are the last 2 guys that are useful, right? The workhorses. After those guys, that's when I get to the Kareem Hunt zone.
Which one would you have higher ranked, by the way? I think that's a good question. Mike Davis or Myles Gaskin?
I'm gonna go with Gaskin because Miami is going to focus on running that football. I think either one of these guys can be replaced in the snap of a finger as the starter.
Right. So the problem is Gaskin was not good at the goal line last year. Like they actually took him out a few times. He was great with yardage and he did get some catches, but
yeah, he was good.
He did get. I saw again. This is anecdotally, and I looked at the touchdown total. It was pretty low, but he did get stuffed at the goal line. It makes sense. He's a smaller back. I think he's sub 200, and but again, it doesn't mean he's not going to be good for fantasy. I get to see them that And who did they get in free agency? Touchdown vulture Malcolm Brown. So you can see a situation where Malcolm Brown comes in and gets some tutties.
It looks bad for Gaskin and the touchdown. Whereas I think it's the opposite with Davis. If you look at the role that
he's a workhorse. They're going to run him into the ground.
It's the role that you saw with the Falcons last year with Gurley. It was very red zone heavy. Gurley would get 60 yards and 2 touchdowns in a game. So they do like to run the football near the goal line, and they have success because they have some big wide receivers. They have Kyle Pitts now, so they have some tight end talent that could distract at the end zone, at the red zone. So,
right. So I'm making notes so I can do this right. So Mike Davis
these adjustments are very obvious to me.
Mike Davis up. You want an A.J. Dillon down.
Yeah. Another guy who I'm on the downswing on, and I just don't understand the ranking. I put it in my notes here, but J.K. Dobbins, I'm just not high on J.K. Dobbins, man. I will not have him in any leagues at all. And the reason is his role is exactly the same. I think the idea that he's going to do more than he did last season is just hopes and dreams and lollipops. It's not real. What changed on that team? You know what changed? They got an actual wide receiver that has the potential as a real wide receiver for the first time. They have not had a real National Football League wide receiver on that team in the era of Jackson. In the Lamar Jackson, they haven't had one. Now they got one in Rashad Bateman. What does he do? He's one more target for the end zone, a red zone target. Him, Andrews, 2 big red zone targets. Lamar likes to take the touchdowns himself, and Gus Edwards loves to vulture. Between all of that, I just don't think, number one, Dobbins is going to catch many, if any, passes. And number 2, his red zone role is hampered by all of these other potential scorers.
Let me give you the case for J.K. Dobbins at Ohio State when he was still in school. it's amazing that he was really a great pass catcher because he didn't catch too many passes in the NFL so far. But you and I, we've talked about this, and I've identified one of my favorite fantasy football strategies, and this is a strategy podcast, is that we like to look at players that didn't perform early in the year and then just took off later in the year. I mean, the obvious ones are Cam Akers and Jonathan Taylor. There's no hiding.
Or David Montgomery.
That's true. He does fit that bill. Circling it back. But J.K. Dobbins kind of did this under the radar a little bit. In his final 6 games, he scored at least 1 touchdown in all 6 games, and some of them I think he had 2. In week 17 he had 2. He had double-digit carries in all of those games, but incredibly he only caught 2 passes in those games. So I think his ADP reflects he's going after all these guys, so you're not having to pay the late first, the mid second for him. J.K. Dobbins, I mean, there's always a J.K. Dobbins person in your draft, so you probably will have to buck up, but you can get him. Again, he's going in that area on the 2-3 turn. So I understand what you're saying, but he really did come on hot at the end of the year, but not to the same degree as Akers, Taylor, and even Swift to some degree. So but it's identifying where he's going to be, and I think he's still a rock solid buy where he's going in the early 3rd round.
Let me look at the other side of this. Double digit carries.
Like 13. He averaged, I think, about 13 carries per game.
So understand what you're getting here. Because this is you're making the point for me. He got some touchdowns, good. Touchdown variance.
One in every single game.
Yeah, touchdown variance, great. If you're going to go by touchdown variance, what I want to see is volume. What drives the running back position is volume of touches. Now, we can hope and pray and cross our little fingers and that 13 carries is going to be enough to deliver RB2 value frequently. But I know as a daily fantasy sports player, okay, that if you're relying on touchdowns from a running back, I want volume of touches. That increases your odds. So if I'm relying on just touchdowns, I am screwed. That is not what you want to rely on. Number one, exactly what you said. We've talked about this with certain types of quarterbacks. They don't throw to the running back. Who didn't throw? Because they run. Remember Anthony Lynn, your boy? Coach Anthony Lynn? What did he say with Tyrod Taylor? We're not going to. Our offense doesn't throw to the running back. So that's why Eckler is not receiving any passes on this team. Like, remember how bad Eckler was for the Tyrod Taylor games?
Right.
It was because
by the way, it should be noted for the Justin Herbert games, he got 10 targets a game. So that's, again, I know that's not what
this makes
saying.
The point.
Yeah.
This is the exact point that I'm saying. You're making my point. The style of offense that's run with running quarterbacks doesn't often lead to a lot of checkdowns to the running back. Right.
Especially
because
Lamar, because Lamar is not just a running quarterback; he's the best running quarterback ever.
What works better for the Ravens? Checking down to Dobbins and letting him run for 6 yards, or the play's blown up, boom, Lamar takes off, gets 40 yards. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what they're going to do every time. That's how the offense is designed. So I would be moving. For me, I move J.K. Dobbins down my list.
I'll give you this. How about this? Let's get crazy. J.K. Dobbins or James Robinson?
No, I'm still taking Dobbins.
All right, who will have more touchdowns in 2021?
Man, touchdowns. I think there's an argument to be made that James Robinson will score as many fantasy points this year as a J.K. Dobbins would. Okay, I don't know about more touchdowns.
There's our sound bite. There's our sound clip right there.
You can make that argument, but that's the level where I want to move Dobbins down to. I want to move Dobbins down behind guys who catch passes, behind guys like Najee Harris. I have Dobbins after Harris. Harris is going to get a full workload. He'll get PPR points. Why is Harris? Harris should be moved up into that zone. Harris is a starting running back with a 3-down skill set on a team that likes to throw to the running back. If you're in a PPR league, you want Najee Harris on your team this year. He's young. He's fresh. We haven't seen rookie running backs like completely dominate most of the time right off the gate. We've seen some. Saquon Barkley looked amazing his first few games. We've seen it. Handpicked guy, the next Le'Veon Bell. I'd much rather have. And while Roethlisberger is healthy, he produces massive fantasy totals for his running backs. You're going to get a 3-down back. He should be way up. I have Najee Harris over ATN, over Carson, over Miles Sanders, over Dobbins. As a matter of fact, I'd have Najee Harris right after Montgomery, RB14.
I think that it would probably just, again, you want to adjust the rankings a little bit to the market. I think the market will take Harris above Montgomery. I mean, you're definitely going to be way out there on Montgomery. So I mean, where you take the player is another story, but where I value him. So when that guy is there in that late 3rd round, Najee Harris, there or not. I think we found our first David Montgomery. Actually, this Brad Evans, Fade the Noise. He's the other David Montgomery truther. So it's you and Brad Evans are the David Montgomery people now.
Apparently, there it is. I mean, I like to be on the island with. I want to be on the island. I don't want Brad with me. I want to be alone.
I mean, why not? It's always good. If you remember, what was the Tom Hanks? What was the Tom Hanks movie?
That's what I'm saying.
Castaway. You don't want to be alone. You'd rather have a person there,
but not him.
All right.
I want
like Brad Evans.
I want Sez with me on the island.
I'm not going to be with you on the David Montgomery Islands, but if there's another island you want, I'll come there with you. All right. You want to move? Can we move to a different position group? Because I was asking.
Let's talk wide receiver for a minute.
I was hoping we can go tight ends because wide receivers is a long. Well, listen, because wide receivers is a long conversation. All right, fine. You want to go wide receivers?
Yeah,
we'll go
wide receivers is a much more dramatic. Tight end, it's like.
Well, I was hoping we would save the dramatic one for the next podcast,
No, I mean, we got to start with, you cannot have Devante Adams as WR1 overall with Aaron Rodgers status in doubt.
Wait a second. Let's try to play like hockey. In hockey, you try to skate where the puck's going, not where it is.
No.
Let me ask you.
That is not the Sez philosophy. You told me your philosophy, and you said in top 2 rounds, you don't fuck around with risks.
But this is redraft, dude. Do you really believe Aaron Rodgers is not playing for the Packers? Like, I believe he is playing for the Packers.
I think he probably will. But
will. Now, okay.
Probably will.
So now let me ask, hold on, wait, let me get the point. If he does play for the Packers, is Devonte Adams the wide receiver 1?
100%.
And don't drink on a podcast. It sounds disgusting when you swallow.
I don't care.
Eating and drinking. Hit the mute button. It sounds
I can't speak. I gotta.
Hit the mute button. Hit the mute button. It sounds disgusting. When I hear people drinking liquid on a podcast, it grosses me out.
You gotta back away. Back away.
So no, but listen. So we're in agreement here that if Rodgers plays, and we both think he will, that Adams is the number 1. So why the hell would you put him down? Why would you lower him?
Because why would I take him number 1 when the mystery still exists? This is the same thing. Let me bring this around to a dynasty trade somebody offered.
Forget dynasty.
No, I'm going to bring it around to trade because there's a point to this, and it speaks specifically to this. If I'm going to take the risk, I want a discount. There is a risk that Rodgers does not play for this team. So whereas yes. Why would I rank him number 1? I want to rank him about number 4. In other words, I want a discount for the risk. And
right, but you don't have to take him you could still take him at a discount. But what I'm saying is we're going to take all those running backs above him. And we got this question from DFS Army writer Chris Felicetta. He asked about Devonte Adams because he's coming at a discount right now. He's coming. You can get him in the middle of the second round. If Aaron Rodgers showed up to camp today, which he didn't, and if he showed up to camp, he would be going in redraft leagues. He'd be going at 110, 111, 112. I'm saying is that I am ranking him as if that is happening, because if I'm doing a draft and I have my money on the line today, that's the first wide receiver. Who would you have at wide receiver 1? Give me the 3 guys you take ahead of him. Tyreek Hill. Okay.
Stephon Diggs. Yeah. Hill and Diggs. 1 and 2.
That's 2.
Yeah. And then
AJ Brown.
Yeah, I mean, the next in the rankings, the obvious is either AJ Brown or Justin Jefferson for me, but
Justin Jefferson is very risky for redraft because of what happened with Juju Smith-Schuster. We saw Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, you're still scarred from that.
Well, I mean, you should be. That should be a cautionary tale. When
it's a different situation. I'm going to tell you why.
So you would take him in early round 2 when Stephon Diggs is on the board.
No,
when AJ Brown's on the board. When Devonte Adams is on the board for redraft. There's no way.
I like Jefferson right up there with those guys. Maybe AJ Brown and then Jefferson.
I'm just saying is that there's more risk with Justin Jefferson being that he only did it for 1 year. And when we saw Juju Smith-Schuster do it for 1 year, become the Dynasty 101, and then it just totally bottomed out, that made me reassess my process where if I'm going to take you in the top.
Well, you're talking Dynasty. Here we're talking.
No, I'm talking about anything. Even the next year, we were taking Juju Smith-Schuster at the 110 that year, the following year in redraft leagues. And the correct way to think about it is, in order to take a guy in that high, we need to see it for 2 years, or else there's just more risk than the upside is worth.
That's fair. But let me bring this back around to Devonte Adams. Do I believe that Rodgers will go back to the Packers and eventually start for them this year? Yes. Why do I believe that? Because Aaron Rodgers is a god in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and you don't give up god status. You just don't. He's not going to do it. What's going to end up happening is whatever concessions he wants from the team, he's going to get them. So he's playing a game that he's going to win. He has the power to win it, and I'm down with that. But I want Adams at a discount, because if Rodgers doesn't play for any reason, even if you say it's only a 20% chance or a 10% chance, if Rodgers is not with the Packers, Devonte Adams insta worthless. Okay, it's not like he's still a top 12. No, he becomes hot garbage. So let me just be clear on that. Now, moving on from that one, there are some other situations that I think need to be addressed. Number one, Julio Jones. Now, interestingly,
where do we have him? Where do we have him?
Julio we have him at WR13 right now, right sandwiched between Keenan Allen and DJ Moore.
I like it.
The rumor is, we know Julio at this point is going to be traded. He will no longer be with his partner in crime.
Yeah, I think this is an upgrade. I don't think Matt Ryan was looking good the last couple of years. There is a
chance that this guy goes to the Patriots.
You think that's where he would go? Okay. I wasn't. If that happens, I would have to reassess that ranking.
The risk is great here. It is a very high risk that he goes to a team that can't throw. He goes to Baltimore.
Can I tie this back to what you were saying earlier? You asked what would make Aaron Jones a happy camper. Not Aaron Rodgers. Sorry.
Oh,
wouldn't this do it?
I mean, come on. That's
I'm asking. Wouldn't this do it?
But I'm not ranking him 13 on the hopes and prayers that this happens.
Then he would be a top 5 wide receiver. No, he'd be up there with Devonte Adams.
Is that even in the rumors?
Isn't anything in play? Like,
no, I mean, there's a few teams that have been rumored.
Yeah, but that's, it's like, let's say you're in a nice marriage here, right? And you do something, so you just have like this terrible fight, right? And then all of a sudden you've already exhausted buying roses for your loved one. You can't do it. You got to come home with like a car when you screw up that bad. And isn't the relationship with that? Hold on one second. Can I get my thought out?
Yeah.
Isn't the relationship when you have to, like, isn't Julio Jones that Ferrari? Isn't that Ferrari like, hey, honey, here, let's make up. Let's win a Super Bowl with this beautiful Lamborghini I just bought you.
I think it'd be great, but I don't think it's going to happen. That team doesn't sign free agent wide receivers. They never have.
Yeah, but they've never been in a situation where their disgruntled MVP QB is literally threatening to sit out.
I think you fire the GM.
It ain't happening. That, I mean, anything's possible, but that's your answer right there. Julio Jones is the answer. Right. So to bring Aaron Rodgers back.
Bold Cole right here thinks Julio Jones to the Packers and it solves their problems. For me, I don't think so. I think the risk of him. The point is here at this price, an injury-prone old wide receiver going to a new team. We don't know who it's going to be.
His per play metrics were awesome last year, though. He was still top 5 in his yards per catch and yards per target.
Great. I need to know where he lands before I'm ranking him anywhere.
What if he lands in Tennessee with AJ Brown and
I can work with that. I can work with that. That's good.
I'm just saying, it's like where would you with the Patriots? How far down would you push him if he went to the Patriots? Like what?
28.
Okay. I have a higher opinion of Julio.
You seem to have way too high opinion of Cam Newton's ability to complete a pass, because if he goes to the Patriots,
I'm also assuming it's Mac Jones, who's really accurate.
You're assuming Mac Jones is going to be the starter for the Patriots
week 1.
That's a bold call right there. I love bold calls.
Yeah, I just don't see why you wouldn't. I mean, Mac Jones was like this pro-ready prospect. I mean, again, I hate to make the comparisons, but he does profile similar more to Brady than in the offense they're used to running. That, and the only reason Cam Newton's a gamer, man. But you know how many touchdown passes Cam Newton threw last year? Take a guess without looking. How many touchdown passes did Cam Newton throw?
I'm going to say 4.
Come on, 4. He started most of the games. You're saying
is it 6?
8. It was 8.
Okay, yeah. Like, this dude is terrible. By the way, Mac, one of the great things of last season was watching all of the fantasy football breakdowns and the daily fantasy and all these people putting Cam Newton on their lists every week as a starter, as a cash play. And I kept like, how lucky were you guys who are in DFS Army who didn't experience that misery? Because I literally will never play Cam Newton. So glad to have helped with that. Now, other names here that bother me at this height, DJ Moore.
Where do we have him?
Am I at 14? Am I like, you're on? I just want to ask you. You're on the clock. You're staring at CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Deontay Johnson, a PPR machine. Kenny Golladay, new team with the Giants. And you're like, no, I'm going to pull the trigger for DJ Moore, a guy who didn't score touchdowns, regressed in his role a little bit with the team, but more importantly, now is being thrown to by Samwise Darnold, a quarterback who has looked completely inept. I get it. Adam Gase, can't blame the guy too bad. Could be better. Joe Brady, I've heard all of the reasons why things could be different, but, you know,
let me ask you this.
Why would I take that risk?
Would your opinion change? And I'm going to give you a hypothetical, so I understand that. If they announced DJ Moore is going to be our slot receiver, would your opinion change for PPR?
It changes nothing. Why would I take that risk? Why would I want a wide receiver who's tied to Sam Darnold?
Because Jamison Crowder was a top 10 or 12 receiver for those few weeks that
you know who's on the Panthers? Robbie Anderson, a guy who has a rapport.
No, the same guy that was on the Darnold Jets and when Jamison Crowder was there.
Yeah. But my point is, he had at least a rapport with him. But in the games where Robbie Anderson did well, James Crowder did not. But more importantly, it's not that I don't like the player. I have DJ Moore. I like him as a long-term prospect. I like him this year. I just don't like him more than Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb, who are tied in with Dak Prescott. Like, why hurt? One of the rules I live by in fantasy football is, like, when you're taking a wide receiver, consider who their quarterback is. And if you're making a choice between two and it's close, I will take the wide receiver that's playing with Dak above the guy that's playing with Sam Darnold. And I'm going to tell you why. And it's simple statistics. I'm a math man. I do math. All right? And here's how my math works. This year, Dak Prescott is going to throw for many, many touchdowns. Sam Darnold will not throw for half the number of touchdowns that Dak Prescott does. Sam Darnold, 15, Dak Prescott, 30. It's like that. So there's going to be two times the opportunity to catch a touchdown pass in the Dallas offense as there will be in the Panthers. It's that simple. Why would I take the player
for those of you
the other guy?
For those of you out there in the chat, just put it in the comment box. Just let us know who you like better, Amari Cooper or DJ Moore for PPR leagues for a redraft. Just let us know. Throw in the comment. Just throw it in the name.
I can't believe it's even a question.
Yeah, so throw it in the comments. Let us know who you like. We always like to hear back from the crowds that are listening. We do have quite a few people today watching along, so we definitely appreciate you. So, yeah, Amari Cooper, DJ Moore, help us out here with that ranking as we tidy up the DFS Army draft kit, which, by the way, go to DFS Army now. Use code SEZ, S-E-Z, get 10% off. And you can access all our rankings. You can DFS fantasy basketball right now is on fire. Playoffs are awesome. We'll give another quick shout out in that respect to our sponsor, No House Advantage. But come on over to DFS Army and see all of that. All right, moving on. Go a little bit down the rankings a little bit.
Well, I've got some other up top. I can't move down. We got to deal with Michael Thomas.
Where do we have him right now?
WR9.
You don't like that ranking?
I think he can move down a bit. I don't hate it. I
actually like 12-ish.
I'm just going to put a couple of names above him. I like TM Sizzles, Terry McLaurin above Michael Thomas this year. Very close. Allen Robinson, I'm putting him ahead of Michael Thomas, and probably Keenan Allen as well. Those are my trio of guys. I don't love Keenan Allen age-wise long-term, but I mean, you got to take Keenan Allen playing with Herbert as his stud. I mean, that's a great situation. Michael Thomas, the only concern, I still think he's good, but we don't know who the quarterback is for the Saints as of right now. So,
I mean, aren't we assuming it's Jameis Winston? That's what I'm
assuming it's. My assumption is it's going to be Hill.
Okay.
You want my bold call? Here you go, guys.
Taysom Hill. Michael Thomas did have his best games last year with Michael Thomas. So I mean,
with Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, he had good games with Hill, but I'm going to say right now, my bold call is Taysom Hill gets the nod. I don't understand why everybody thinks it's Winston. So could be wrong, but I just think why would it be Winston? They went with Hill last year.
Well, the reason I think that it could be Winston is that Winston was an unrestricted free agent. He could have gone anywhere. There were some openings, and he chose to sign for low-end starter money on a 1-year deal. The connecting the dots, what it made sense was that they told him that he was going to be the starter.
Yeah,
now,
I don't believe
that. That said, I for fantasy purposes, it's probably instead of Winston having his usual 35 touchdown upside, 38 touchdown upside, we all know that Hill is going to be coming in on the goal line a little bit, and I would probably my projections have him closer to like 26.5 touchdowns. But I definitely think that
you think it's going to be Winston.
I think there's going to be Hill's going to be mixed in, but I think I think Winston's going to get the first crack at it. Is that a better way to phrase it?
Yeah, I mean, if they want to run the offense
traditionally,
it's going to be Winston.
Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen.
If they want to add a dynamic difference without maybe losing that, and if they think they can not lose that much in the passing game, and I thought Taysom Hill looked competent as a passer.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah, so to me, that's what I'm going by. What I saw on the field, I saw when Hill was in there, they looked good as a team. So that's what I saw.
Yeah, it's funny enough that like when they were in the playoffs and they lost, like it was Drew Brees' last game. Like if you wanted to win the game, you probably should have benched him, right? But
they weren't going to do that.
Yeah, they weren't going to do that, and Taysom Hill gave him the best chance to win. But yeah, I understand why they didn't.
Absolutely. All right, so let's move down the list a little bit and look for some other. I think one guy that's a little bit. I'm going to give you an overvalued and undervalued here. A couple of very seriously way undervalued guys. Number one, I think Jamar Chase should be moved up in the rankings.
Yeah, rookie wide receiver is always tough, man.
It is tough, but I think he will be. Like I'd have him above.
Where do I have him right now? What number
you have him? 35th overall, below Odell Beckham, below Juju Smith-Schuster, below Tyler Boyd.
I stand by that. Like I don't. It's in PPR leagues. I think that I think Tyler Boyd will have more catches than Jamar Chase. I just do.
I mean, Jamar Chase is comfortable with Joe Burrow already. Like we're not talking about.
I know.
We're not talking about the normal situation where a rookie comes onto a veteran team and has to learn. Who's he learning behind? T. Higgins? The other guys are also basically rookies. And this guy has played with Joe Burrow. I think he slides right in as a WR1.
It's not learning how to play. It's learning how to play in the NFL. It's learning how to get off the line, how to the clutching and the grabbing of it's just a slightly different, well, not more than slightly. It's a different game in college than it is in the NFL. And that could take, even if it takes them 3-4 weeks to get acclimated, that's a third of your fantasy season. I'm not talking about dynasty. We're talking about like redraft and best ball. If Jamar Chase, let's say he has 2 catches for 42 yards, 3 catches for 36 yards, and then like 5 catches for 44 yards. He's almost going to be droppable in redraft. You know what I'm saying? Like, whereas Tyler Boyd is going to come out and get his 6 for 60 and maybe he scores a touchdown. I'm just saying, like, I like Jamar Chase as a prospect. He's our wide receiver 1 in Dynasty, like for rookies. And we certainly like him as a 3rd, 4th round pick in our startup leagues. But in redraft, it's like, it's so funny. Like you and I play so much Dynasty in the offseason, and then like I always say when the redraft rankings come out, it's like cold water on our Dynasty outlooks. All of a sudden it's like Baker Mayfield. He's our QB9 in Dynasty, and then you see like the redraft rankings like QB17. It's like, oops. Well, it's just the reality. And Jamar Chase is exactly that situation. We have him as a top 10, top 12 Dynasty wide receiver, but in redraft, I think I'll move him up a little bit, but I can't get him above like wide receiver 30. I just can't.
I mean, wide receiver 30 is fine. I just think that he needs to go up a little bit here. I think Jamar Chase has a good opening season. There's too many intangible things that lead that way.
It could be for the last 7 or 8 weeks, but by that point, your team is sunk anyway if you take him at wide receiver 20.
Who's putting him at wide? I'm saying you get the guy late, but I mean,
you're not. He's going, or dude, he's like wide receiver 16, 15 off the board. All those Pitts is going in the top 4 rounds. I mean, in redraft leagues, I like all these guys. I
won't have him if that's the case. I'm just saying when you rank him, like I'll give you an example. I'm not taking Will Fuller over Jamar Chase. Will Fuller is stuck with Tua. Now I like Will Fuller as a player, but the quarterback didn't look very good. Didn't look like a guy who could lefty quarterbacks. They always look like Uncle Rico to me. Can't throw, can't deliver the football down the field, or at least he couldn't last season. So a massive downgrade. So Will Fuller, you got to be careful with this guy. Like you don't want him. Will Fuller starting for the Dolphins, who just got Waddle, who still have Devontae Parker, and have Tua at the quarterback position. That's not something like I'm not taking Will Fuller over Deebo Samuel. Hell no. I think I like Robbie Anderson above Will Fuller. So to me, Will Fuller, Will Fuller above Deebo Samuel. Like, no.
It's funny. I was looking at, our friend Chris Liss's rankings too. He has Deebo Samuel above CD and Amari Cooper. He has Deebo at like wide receiver 13. I'm very low on Deebo versus your idea of him, and certainly
why
Chris Liss's. I don't know. Brandon Ayuk is the alpha wide receiver. George Kittle there. I mean, at best, Deebo is the third option. They're going to throw to the running backs. Yeah, sure. Deebo will get a few carries here and there too, but I wouldn't take Deebo. I have him probably like wide receiver. What do I have him there? I probably have him like 30, 27. Yeah. I mean,
right down with like, it's like he's in a zone with Brandon Cooks and Paris Campbell. Like,
what's it called? Brandon Cooks is the wide receiver 1 on that team. He's going to get 130 targets this year.
Who's going to throw to him? Tyrod Taylor?
Doesn't matter. They're going to throw 600 times. I mean, maybe the rookie Davis, but Brandon Cooks still has speed. They're going to throw. He's going to get 120 targets.
Cooks wasn't that good with Watson. He's not. He's going to be even
worse. But
worse.
Will Fuller was there. Now he's the primary target.
Doesn't matter.
All right.
Doesn't matter. No
targets
way.
matter.
Bad season coming for Brandon Cooks.
Well, Brandon Cooks should get the 11th round.
Let me give another piece of fantasy football advice, guys. This is just basic, general things that you want to do in fantasy football. If Tyrod Taylor is the quarterback of the team, do not take pass catchers from that team for your fantasy squad. They are going to disappoint you and make you sad. You're going to cry.
Well, who is there?
You're going to lose your money.
Brandon Cooks going in the 11th round and Nico Collins going undrafted. Those two,
I'm just saying. I was disagree with overall philosophy. Remember last year I went on a rant about how no one should draft Keenan Allen. I did a bet with Shane.
Right, and you were. By the way, you were completely wrong about it.
Well, no, I wasn't. I was referring to a Keenan Allen helmed by Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor gets the shot, punctures the lung. Herbert comes in, and history is changed.
All right. Well, now they have another rookie quarterback that was being talked about as a first-round pick, but because he had injuries, fell to the 3rd round in Davis Mills.
Your description of this guy has just had some injuries is a little bit underplaying the fact that he played 7 games in his whole college career and didn't look that great. This is not a guy who's anywhere near. He had 7. What did he have? 8 games through an entire college career. That's the guy who's going to take over as a starter. He hasn't even barely played. He's at the high school. It's like bringing a star from high school and, hey, you're going to start an NFL team. Why? Because he hasn't played in 5 years any football. Look it up. That dude is not going to be anything, and he's not. There's no way they're going to put a guy who started 6 games in his entire college career at the helm of a National League football. No. National Football League team? A game? Hell no. That's not happening. Another one is Chase Claypool. I'm fascinated by the fact that you have Chase Claypool so far below Deontay Johnson when to me, they're basically the same guy. So you explain that one to me.
Yeah, I mean, look no further than the number of targets that they got. I mean, Deontay just squashed him. Deontay Johnson became the primary wide receiver.
He was. I was all over Deontay last year.
Yeah, there was 10. What was it? It was like 10. There was a couple games where he didn't have. He made a couple bad drops and they benched him. But in the games where he got a full complement of snaps and it was a significant sample size, when you talk about in context of a season, it was 10 plus targets. So yeah, Deontay Johnson's the one I'm highest on. We all agree that Ben Roethlisberger is going to take a step back. I'm not saying Chase Claypool can't have explosive games. He obviously is a good player, and we saw that early in the season last year. He had like a 3 touchdown game, but I'm just, again, I would think of him more as a great best ball option because you don't have to call the shot. But in your seasonal leagues, he's going to get overdrafted. People are very high on Chase Claypool, and I just think there's a lot of it's a poor man's Will Fuller when you're talking about fantasy scoring.
I mean, it's interesting. I'm just fascinated.
Did you see he got traded in our dynasty league, Claypool, for Mims and Odell Beckham in the one we're doing right now?
I mean, Odell.
Which side of that would you rather have?
I think I want Claypool.
Yeah. Okay. Shane. It was our guy Shane.
Yeah, but it was. I didn't like the trade. I thought it was a terrible trade.
Terrible trade for who?
It was for the guy who bought the two.
That was
players.
Matt. Yeah, that was Matt.
But he screws everything up. So he's known for that. It wasn't that the trade was bad; it's the players he picked were bad. But that's aside. The trade was good. It was just that he chose this play. It doesn't matter. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about just the fact that, again, Claypool
last one because
I've got one more for you.
Yeah, because we're getting towards
a very close one. Between Godwin and Evans, my contention is that Evans is the better fantasy play this year. Your contention is that Godwin is the better fantasy play this year. I want you to convince me why you're right and I'm wrong, where I think Evans is the better play.
Yeah, I mean, let's just go back from 2 years ago. This is up.
Wait, you want to talk about the BT time before Tom?
Yes, I was. I was going to give you kind of just lay out the case a little bit. You asked me to make the case. So if we just go back 2 years ago when Jameis Winston was there, we saw Godwin really break out, right? I mean, he was finished as the wide receiver too. I mean, he's just a monster. He's age 25 right now. He's really hitting his peak. There's no question that Mike Evans is a Hall of Fame player. I mean, one more 1,000-yard season, which is like, a layup for him. He's going to be, he lock him into the Hall of Fame. So both of these are great players. So the question is, for fantasy football, which one of them at their cost is going to give you the production you're looking for? And I think the answer is that Mike Evans is probably more of a volatile player. Okay, like you're going to have some single-digit fantasy point weeks, and then obviously some week winning. Whereas Godwin probably projects as the better consistent option. And when depending on like where you have to take these guys, they're probably going to be your wide receiver 2 or, your wide receiver 1 if you went robust running back early. And I think just where they're going, the role that you want to be able to put that wide receiver in your lineup every week and not worry about it. Of course, you're never going to worry about Mike Evans, all right? You're just going to put in there. But I like the projectable consistency of Godwin better, but it wouldn't shock me at all if Evans ends up with more fantasy points. But I would like those fantasy points spread out every week rather than concentrated in like 4 or 5 weeks. Does that make sense?
It does. So, I mean, it's a fair argument. If you look at Godwin last year in PPR scoring, he had 2 weeks where he crossed the 20-point threshold.
There's a little bit more spread out, whereas the other one's more like looks like the Bitcoin chart, up and down, up and down.
His consistency was pretty good. So if we look at Evans,
I think that's worth something too. I think that's when you have a player that's just consistent across the board. I think there's a premium on that.
That's fair, but I'm going to say if you take a look at Evans, he had a 40-point week. He had a.
No, he's capable of that. But,
yeah, 2 25-point weeks, countless 20s. There was a 20-pointer. So, yeah, in terms of explosive weeks, Evans did more.
Just depends on what you really value.
Close. It's a very close argument. It's a very close argument in the end of the day. Yeah. But I think
I'd rather
Evans
have Godwin. Yeah, I'd rather have Godwin. But I mean, I love Mike Evans.
You know what my one argument against Godwin is, and pro Evans, and why I think what makes the difference for me. Most of last season, they didn't have Antonio Brown. And the issue for me is Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin are similar in the way that the routes that they run. And it was Antonio Brown who was picking up more action later in the year. And I think Antonio Brown, like you know how Tom Brady loves the end zone corner touchdown throw? Like he's great with the touch, the simple pass, one-on-one on the corner. That's a play that goes to Mike Evans most of the time. So I personally think, all things being equal, that touchdown equity for Evans is just going to be higher. They love that one play, the fade, the corner fade in the end zone, and he's great at it. He's got the size for it. And just, I think Godwin and Antonio Brown, so that'd be my argument, especially if you look at last year, most of the season without Antonio Brown, I think Godwin and Brown eat from each other a little bit more than they eat from Evans. That's my argument.
Yeah, like I said, if you had one over the other, there's it's just a preference. You know, do you want
very
that,
close.
Do you want that little more consistent, or do you want those peaks and valleys? And there's a good argument for both. I've
had a long history with Mike Evans on my dynasty teams. I've had him from the start, and so I'm very familiar with his up and down patterns. But when he has his up weeks, you win your week. When he has his down week, it usually doesn't cost you your week. When he has those up weeks, you win those weeks. Like the 40-point Mike Evans week, you won that week. Like, the 28-point Mike Evans week, you won that week.
Look at this. You're on the clock in our dynasty league too. You want to make your pick on the air?
I can listen, pick is on the block, baby.
Yeah.
I actually know who I'm going to take. Oh, good. All right. So a bad pick, take.
Oh, you want me to hear? You want me to hide it because your cue is on there? Here, I'll hide it. I don't want to put it on there.
There we go. All right. Sorry.
You want me to hide? I'll hide that. There you go.
You want me? Yeah. You want me to put
I hit it.
you're
I hit it. I didn't know what you had on there or whatever.
Well, I'll tell you I think that's boring for the podcast. So I'll make my pick after. I know who I'm taking though. But I want to.
What's the offer? Let's shame the guy that gave you an offer. Our guy.
Wait, do I have an offer? Hold on.
Yeah, Mike D said he sent you an offer. So let's shame him.
Mike D is not a guy I'm going to shame. His stuff is generally pretty fair. Let's see. First 2022. What the fuck is Mike D 2021 fifth rounder? I don't know what that means. Hold on.
A 2021, that means his fifth round pick. So his fifth round pick was Noah
Fant. My next 4 picks for whoever he took in round 5.
He took Noah Fant.
Why would you take Noah Fant in round 5?
Well, in all fairness, it's a 2 tight end premium league, so you have to start 2. But
oh my god, offers are flying in. He took Noah Fant. It was like one of the worst picks in the entire draft. You don't get your pick. You don't get to make up for your mistake on me, buddy. Hell,
he wants 4 picks. I don't even get.
He wants my next 4 picks. All right, here's another one. Oh my gosh, wait a minute. Ooh, these offers are very interesting. So another guy offered me their first round pick.
Their first
2022 a 2022 first.
That's good.
This is a good offer. A 2023 third.
Wow.
For my
Who's
next
that from?
3 picks.
No, that's not a good offer. That's not a good offer. Who is that one from?
That's from Scally. And wait, another one just came in. First round pick 2022.
Right.
For my next 2 picks.
And who's that?
That's iHeartbeat. Ooh, this is going to be a fun one. I'm going to drag this one out. I got a lot of negotiating to do. I have a guy I like here, but now I can't say it on the air. I don't want people to know. If I say it, I can lose it. I was about to smash now I'm offered first round picks and shit. I need to. All right, that's fine.
Yeah, but you have to give up multiple picks to give that first round.
So live on the air, you're finding out. Yes, we put our money where our mouths are. I constantly am drafting a league. I love it. It's got my fantasy football.
What will it cost me to move? You want to move back 3 spots to 11, 12?
I do. I love where I'm at right now. There's a player I want right now. So in order to move back, I need to be compensated because I have a feeling my guy will be gone. Okay. So
fair enough.
What
would that cost?
Probably a couple round move up later on, or something along those lines, or a second round pick.
Interesting.
I've got first round picks on. I don't even understand this guy. I might go. That guy offered me 5.9. I might take his 6 point. I don't know. I don't want Noah Fant, but I do like certain players. So let's see, man. This is exciting.
Good luck with the pick.
All right, let's wrap it up here. No one wants to hear. No one ever wants to hear
if you stayed and watched this podcast for that long, you are interested in our terrible leagues. So
yeah, you might be, but nonetheless, I don't feel like.
I'm just gonna outro us. All the information you need to sign up for DFS Army is in the link in the bio. Okay. So until next time,
we don't glaze over that. Well, there's very important things. Number one, don't forget to like and subscribe. I ask you every week. You never do it. Why? Why are you hurting me? All you got to do is subscribe to the channel so you can find out. Like the video so somebody else can find it. I told you, big personality out of big radio man out of Philly told me he watches the show. He's like, the Geek. I don't get how you guys aren't big. Like, why doesn't everybody watch it? So only DFS Army people. Get everybody in here. Let's go. Like and subscribe to the channel. Let's get the views. Let me know that you're out there. Go sign up at DFS Army as a VIP. You get all the sports. We had a 100K NBA winner this past week. We win NASCAR every single week. Like, if you're playing daily fantasy sports, you have to be signed up at DFS Army. You get our insider podcast. We have stuff that we do behind the paywall constantly. We do way more behind the paywall than you see here on
paywall, right? The paywall.
Yeah, it's way more behind the paywall. Every sport covered in depth. Whatever you're into tennis, we cover that too. You want to do WNBA? I don't know why you want to do it. I don't like it. Can't watch it. We cover it. We got you covered. MLB, great start to the season. So get in there. DFS Army is a VIP. All your fantasies will come true. All of your fantasies.
All right.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yes.
All right. All right, there we go, guys. That'll do it for this one. We'll be back next time. We'll cover the QB position, the tight end position. Then we're going to get into best ball strategy. Everything. We have you covered all season, all off season long. Adjust.
Got the best coaches in the game. We really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles.